put your daughter on the stage, Mrs. Worthington. Don't put your daughter on the stage. The profession is overcrowded and the struggle's pretty tough. And admitting the fact she's burning to act, that isn't quite enough. She has nice hands to give the wretched girl her due, but don't you think her bust is too developed for her age? I repeat, Mrs. Worthington, sweet Mrs. Worthington, don't put your daughter on the stage.
Thank you very much. It's a tremendous honour to have been asked belatedly to launch the 20th Dublin International Gay Theatre Festival. In the words of Linda Martin, on receiving the invitation, my immediate response was, why me? You probably asked the same question afterwards. Tonight's guest, as you know, was to have been Jerry Buttimer. Jerry is unavoidably detained with affairs of state, and I'm not bitter. It's not the first time that I've been left standing until someone asked me at the end of the evening. It is a measure, however, of how far we have travelled that the holders of two of our highest constitutional positions, greeting President Biden, himself a champion of gay rights, belatedly, the Taoiseach and the Cathaoirleach are both members of the LGBT community. That fact is notable, perhaps only because it would have been unimaginable in 1993 when Brian Merriman stepped out of his high heels, his even higher wig and his flowing frocks as Alban Zara, having taken his final bow for that wonderfully memorable Olympia production of La Cage, and set himself a new challenge. 10 years after the decriminalisation of homosexuality, Brian was inspired to create a gay theatre festival while attending a Pride photo exhibition at what was then the Front Lounge. Within a short period of time, he had gathered 10 Irish companies and then decided to secure an English company so that he could justify calling the entire adventure a Dublin International Gay Theatre Festival. From the outset, it bluntly seemed a crazy idea. An international gay theatre festival run by well-intentioned amateurs with no budget, no resources, no premises, no staff, no theatre. Nothing but a potentially good idea fueled by a mutual burning desire to tell stories, to provide a space within which the stories of gay men and gay women could be told. As the programme evolved, it became more inclusive of the broader LGBTQ+ community. I suppose at this stage I should declare that Brian and myself are long-standing friends. We studied together at the College of Commerce or at Mines in the early 80s. I remember Brian well enough to know him when he had a girlfriend. My memory of that is clearer than hers. Brian at that time wrote to me about his festival idea, and I replied with apologies to Noel Coward, and only members of the audience of a certain age will understand. Don't put your festival on the stage, Mr. Merriman. Don't put your festival on the stage. The profession is overcrowded and the struggle's pretty tough. And admitting the fact you're burning to act, that isn't quite enough. How can I make it clear this is not a good idea for you to hope, Merriman? On the face of it, this is absurd, Mr. Merriman. Mr. Merriman ignored me. My old college friend was no coward. 20 years later, the Dublin International Gay Theatre Festival is a shining light on the landscape with a deserved international reputation. And it is heartening to see the generous support of the Department of Tourism, Culture, Art, Gaelic, Sports and Media on this occasion. The festival has survived through a mixture of imagination, tenacity, hard work, and what I would identify as a strong streak of stubbornness and defiance. And in this lovely venue, I see the ghosts of festivals past, actors, directors, crews, volunteers, and above all, writers, many of them individuals telling their story for the first time. Spare a thought too, but not too kind of thought, for the knockers, the naysayers, and the gimlet-eyed critics who for long poured scorn on the festival and annually predicted its demise. And Brian then delighting in the fact of proving them wrong yet again, and never afraid to tell us I know that Brian would want me to acknowledge the contribution of the small band of volunteers who have supported the festival. Many of them are here tonight. The venue sponsors, the patrons, the companies who form the backbone of the company, of the festival. Inevitably, many of these are poorly resourced individuals and groups, many of whom travel from far corners of the world to take part in Dublin. And also, of course, to acknowledge the audience, sometimes small in number, but who form an integral part of the festival. If you want to appreciate the reach of the festival over 20 years, do yourself a favour. Look at the archive section of the website gaytheatre.ie and just take a few moments to go through the programme year by year, and it really is like a journey, sometimes a sad journey, through our shared history. Not just the history of the festival, but of our community and of our landscape. And look at the reach of the festival. By reach, I mean not just the quality and quantity of the international productions, that's important, but also the rich variety of themes, the complex stories of imagined, reimagined, and told with style, humour, and frequently with searing honesty and bravery. Brian will outline this year's programme, but I do in particular want to mention the cornucopia of fine productions at the Teachers' Club, which is a jewel in Dublin's crown and which this year celebrates its centenary. And I think it's fitting this evening that we send centenary greetings to Tig and the staff and all at the Teachers' Club, which has long been a place of inclusion and welcome for all. Looking back at the annual programme, however, I was struck by the fact that the festival, marking 20 years, has outlived many of the wonderful venues associated with its early days. I think particularly of Andrews Lane, I think of Dragon, sometimes I prefer not to think of Dragon, and I think, of course, of the enchanting Cobalt Cafe. So much has changed in 20 years in our city, in the arts and entertainment scene, in the lived lives of our community. And yet, we should not be blind to the fact that the challenges caused by exclusion, poverty, alienation, and indeed discrimination, sometimes within our community, remain. In the current global climate, we cannot take for granted the rights we have secured for ourselves, or the rights of those around us. The power of the theatre and the power of this festival is to challenge, to stimulate, to educate, but also to help us celebrate, sometimes to mourn. That is the power of drama, that is the power of theatre. Long may the Dublin International Gay Theatre Festival continue to entertain, to provoke, and at times, like, let's face it, like its founder, occasionally infuriate. It is a vital part of the rainbow community, and it is a festival deserving of support. Finally, I have been told to tell you, in fact, no, I have been ordered to tell you, don't forget to book your tickets, enjoy the festival, and tell your friends. Consider the festival.
Thank you very much, Seamus. To paraphrase Oscar Wilde when he heard his friend was about to prosecute him, Edward Carson, you have done it with all the truthfulness of an old friend. And I didn't wear glasses at the first festival. But time is getting on. The reference to Noel Coward was much appreciated, but you may remember one of my girlfriends, but I remember we had graduated by 1980. Seamus, we were older than you said we were. Well, thank you very much. Jerry Buttimer should have been here. Jerry's been a great friend of the festival. And I had a play called Aerobrushed, which is the LGBT heroes of 1916, and we brought it to Provincetown in Cape Cod, which is the home of gay theatre in America. I had invited Jerry to turn up at the Dublin productions, and he didn't. I invited Jerry when I brought it to Cork to turn up, and he didn't. And I'm sitting in Cape Cod and the phone rings, and it goes, "Hiya Brian, I'm in Cape Cod. Is that your Aerobrushed? I'll be there tonight." And it was particularly useful because we arrived in Cape Cod the night or the day Trump was elected. So who wanted to hear about sacrifice and equality? And the board of directors of the theatre, shall we say, were not prominent in their presence. So I said it to the lady who supported us, Margaret Van Sant. I said, the Speaker of the Irish Senate is coming tonight. Now, of course, if you're the Speaker of the Senate in America, you're the Vice President at times, right? So suddenly they came down from the mountains, and Jerry managed to pack in the audience for us. He's very disappointed he's not here tonight, but as you can see, we found a stunning alternative. Thank you, Seamus, as always, for your continued support. You'll be very glad to know I've written down some notes today, because when I speak extempore, I'll finish sometime around the 15th of May. So I wanted to go and see the shows from the 1st to the 14th, so I decided I'd make a few notes instead. Just thank you all for being here today as we mark, I think, an incredible voluntary effort to bring 20 years of new Irish and international LGBT inclusive theatre to Dublin. When we began this incredible journey in my front room on the 31st of January 2004, we could barely imagine getting a first festival on stage by May, let alone to reach our 20th event this year. And imagine, I lived in a country that criminalised me until I was 32, and now I live in a country that hosts the biggest LGBT+ theatre festival in the world. Don't ever say nothing changes. I would like to begin today's event by sending our best wishes to the first person to endorse us, our esteemed patron, Senator David Norris. David always sees and believes the very best in people. His tireless support for this festival, which he launched on numerous occasions, is greatly appreciated. As he faces his own health challenges at present, we send him our best wishes and gratitude for all that he has done for us and for what he has done to make Ireland a better place for all. I often say the benefit of a minority is that at some stage it provides the opportunity for the majority to do the right thing. In David Norris's case, he has done that so many times to the benefit of us and people he will never meet. His courage and integrity help so many live a better life in Ireland. He truly is my hero and a role model, and we are grateful for his 20 years of support as our patron, along with our other patron, the distinguished award-winning writer Emma Dunn. As an international festival, I'm conscious that what we do here freely today is impossible in countries like Uganda. As the world is beguiled by populism, our human rights, hard-won, may boomerang back into darker times for many. That is why, while we can, we must tell our own stories, our way, in our own society. Now here's a story you've heard me tell before. You may be aware that when the Arts Council got an extra 50 million euros to support the arts to recover from COVID, we were singled out for a cut in support, having facilitated a staggering 65 new Irish LGBT plays to be written under our bursary initiatives during lockdown. During the crisis, because we were voluntarily led by professionals, we gave away whatever funds we had to struggling artists to keep them going in very dark times through our bursaries. Recovering artists will be delighted to know that one way the Council has decided to use these extra funds is to employ 40% more staff. You'll forgive me now if I don't leave and trip with joy down the theatrical yellow brick road. A council official can write down anything they like about an application because the facts the assessment relies upon cannot be challenged under their limited appeals process. And to be fair, the Minister cannot intervene to direct the Council in order to protect artistic freedom, and that's set down in law. The Council is unique in that it is governed by a council of good individuals, many who come from sectors dependent on Council support. So how far would you push the boat out if your sector was grant dependent, as far too many arts sectors are? So what is the boundary of this important artistic freedom? An official can say, don't fund the festival, ours, because all the plays are performed in ancient Greek. There is no process to challenge that, as long as it's put in the correct box in the form. And then that's okay. The hugely restricted form of appeal is ineffective and worrying, especially after successful campaigns where the arts gifted them such substantial extra resources. 50 million, it's now 130 million. This year, no surprise, we were again refused a grant, but now it was due to a decline in funds. Our feasibility was apparently questionable. Now look around you. Here we are, again, for the 20th time. Let me remind you briefly what we achieved last year, and that was COVID year. We were the first big theatrical event to reopen its doors in May, and we did well. Unlike other fringe festivals, for example, Edinburgh was down 25%. We maintained our box office thanks to you. And despite no funds from the Arts Council at all, and thanks to our very loyal audience, we are definitely feasible. On top of that huge achievement of surviving COVID without grant aid, we attracted new private sponsorship, fantastic donations, and thanks to Senators David Norris and Annie Hoey taking up our case, we received unprecedented support from the Minister and the Department of the Arts. The Minister gave us a special grant of an unprecedented, because we've been begging for 20 years, we got €23,000 last year to undertake a number of long overdue developmental projects essential for our progress, long starved by the Arts Council's indifference. I am delighted to announce that the Minister, Catherine Martin TD, having seen the success of our projects we undertook with those new funds, has now granted us a further €27,000 to support and to ensure the success of the 20th Festival. Thank you very much, Minister. That's approximately, I can't even believe these figures, 400% more funding than given by the Arts Council. What a vote of confidence. And we are most definitely feasible. It's great not only to be listened to, but to be believed, and the officials in the Department of the Arts have been so supportive in recognising not only what we have achieved, but the great capacity that exists with this to achieve more when given a decent level of funding. Thank you too for looking at our evidence and deeming it worthy and of value to support. The Arts Council suggested last year's unprecedented 350% increase in funding as a decline in funding, quote, despite having tweeted the Minister's new funding announcement. When we evidenced this nonsense and complete innumeracy in a meeting and in writing, the assessment which questioned our feasibility due to a decline in funding was endorsed again with the Director writing back to me that they found, quote, nothing wrong with that assessment. You cannot challenge the facts, even with irrefutable evidence, and that's how €130 million of taxpayers' money is managed. This year, the Council continued its vendetta against small start-up theatre festivals by attempting to cut the entire grants to the 2 fringe theatre festivals in the city in the first part of the year, despite being awash with cash. I read about the other festival closing down through Facebook on September the 9th last year, and immediately, of course, I reached out to help. They have sadly announced that they could no longer continue without their grant, unlike us, and they closed their very popular festival. Ironically, the other festival had been cited in our negative assessment as being excellent, and now had their funding annihilated by those charged with the recovery of the arts. What is going on? The Arts Council plan for our essential level of theatre, we're first step theatre this year, was that nothing was supposed to happen for start-up theatre in Dublin in 2023. Well, clearly, we have other ideas. Then again, we're not paid to talk the talk. We talk and walk because we believe in theatre as an essential art form in any civil society. I handed over to the other festival that valuable endorsement quotation. I'm glad to say that their campaign ultimately prevailed when they showcased 108 new performances of theatre earlier this year. Well done. Why does helping Irish theatre practitioners showcase their new work infuriate the council officials to the extent that they tried to starve both festivals of funding in 2023? Who or what is behind this theatrical carnage? Another difficulty in their allegedly robust process is, how did one festival learn of the outcome of our application weeks before we did under the same scheme? The process is supposed to be the results are sent out to all applicants at the same time and the same day. Once the council decides not to fund you or cut it, you then must meet with their officials, and only then can you lodge an appeal after that meeting within a strict 4-week window. The other festival made their sad announcement on September the 8th, was offered a meeting before our results were announced, though it was cancelled 2 hours beforehand. Instead of all this process on the public record, an offer of funding was made to the other festival on the 23rd of September. I was delighted to hear that they've been saved as they do such important work. We still hadn't heard our unsurprising outcome. How did this all happen before anyone else had a result? And how could an offer of funding be made without the mandatory meeting and a formal appeals process being invoked? The other festival made their sad announcement on September the 8th, was offered a meeting before our results were announced, though it was cancelled 2 hours beforehand. I was delighted to hear that they've been saved as they do such important work. We still hadn't heard our unsurprising outcome. How did this all happen before anyone else had a result? And how could an offer of funding be made without the mandatory meeting and a formal appeals process being invoked? I raised the situation during our own appeals meeting, and I was told, we don't discuss another application with you. So I made it clear I was discussing the process. I read out the timeline of the posts and my correspondence, only to be told by a very senior manager that no decision was released in advance of the 27th of September, when we were all told at the same time. Now the problem was, I had the correspondence in my hand contradicting that. When I raised these timelines and the outcome, I was told in true Trump fashion, that didn't happen. District Magazine on September the 8th and Hot Press on September the 9th reported that the funding was withdrawn and the sad announcement that their great festival was cancelled. Apparently, none of that happened either. The minutes of our appeal meeting a month later note that we were interested, quote, in a process that saw one festival reveal the result of its application online and announced it was ceasing to exist on that basis. How was it, we asked, that they knew the outcome, had a meeting scheduled and a different offer made to them prior to the other applicants receiving their funds? The senior manager was clear, quote, this is not the case. That's Trumpism. Happily, the other festival had its grant support, recorded their success in changing the minds of the council on their own website. They thanked the council, who took the time to respond to our appeal and gave us the opportunity to be reassessed. There is no process in the Arts Council of reassessing a grant. It doesn't exist on their website for their rules and regulations. There is only an appeal after a meeting, which either upholds or overturns the original decision. No meeting took place, and the grant was restored the week before anyone else had a result. Recall the minutes record. So-and-so was clear that this was not the case. The situation cannot get much crazier with 130 million of hard-won taxpayers' money at stake. We are tiny. We are David trying to tell the truth about Goliath. But this is happening. If you're in, and if you're out, you're out. And I know we live in an era where all you have to do is say things first to be believed. But it is taxpayers' money, and a minister is powerless to direct the council by law. So how, if you cannot challenge the effects of their assessment process with written evidence, can anyone be satisfied with an official being able to write what they like in the knowledge that no amount of evidence can be considered in any appeal? That allows them to describe a 350% increase in funding as a decline. And we all know now that is not true. Now, Seamus said that I infuriate people at times. I was disappointed it wasn't every day, Seamus. But that is a snapshot of the difficulties that we've encountered over 20 years when we have donated our wonderful festival to the mainstream in the city and for our community over the past 20 years. We should not have to waste so much time challenging that nasty nonsense. And I know Gareth and I both have a line for each year we've done. But to note that the director finds, quote, nothing wrong with it all is shocking. Post-COVID recovery in the arts has been tough. We were delighted to see submission numbers recover handsomely this year. I saw 42 plays in Edinburgh in 8 days too, thanks to the department's support. And we had talks with some great big cast shows when they tried to source and pay for accommodation in Dublin. It was out of the question cost-wise. In 2009, we had a great deal with Travelodge for a number of years. You could then get a double or a twin room in Travelodge for €50 per night. If you paid an extra tenner, you could put in an extra bed. That's 3 people in a room for 60 quid. However, we did a buy one get one free deal with Travelodge, which meant we were able to accommodate people in a good hotel for a tenner a night. We used to be able to sponsor that, no more. We have a loyal tourist audience, a great audience that comes to us from all over the world, that come every year to see our diverse programme here right here. One member wrote to us recently saying the room costs were prohibitive. Bearing in mind our theatre tickets are the only things that haven't increased in price in a decade, 10 to 15 euros. This year he sourced the best deal in May for our festival. It was, of course, Travelodge. No longer a shared tenner per night, but now €250 per room per night. They're once again the best value in town, but I saw the impact of this on the ground in Edinburgh. I landed in Edinburgh and I had paid €4,000 to get there and not a cent went to an artist. And I think that's appalling. And it is something that we have to stand up against and do something about. There's too many people making money out of the arts and too few artists making a living. Now for the good news. We have 23 new LGBT inclusive theme plays from Ireland, the United Kingdom, where they don't have a bob, let me tell you, for the arts, the USA, Australia, Israel, Italy, Canada, Serbia, Spain, and shows Oscuelga in Hebrew and in Serbian with English translations. And they will all premiere in our diverse programme of inclusive LGBT theatre from the 1st to the 14th of May. 10 are Irish, and some of them are here this evening. Ella and Connor, etc. I see anyway, and Amanda and the other Connor at the back. Didn't recognise the body, Connor, but never mind.
I didn't know.
Thanks to the department's great support, we were able to offer a number of applicants for the first time a production bursary to assist with rising costs, and we were delighted to share that support directly with our artists. It is great to see Irish artists, and 2 of them are our diaspora. 2 young writers left this country a few years ago. One of them went to Edinburgh to become famous, and the other went to London. They're both coming home with their works to Dublin this year. That is fantastic, and we are delighted to be able to show their works. And why is that? Well, because we're feasible. We are showcasing new writing on a range of themes, from gender identity and stories with a gay or LGBT inclusive character, theme or relevance. We have stories ranging from cancel culture of modern days right back to the most wonderful distortion of Oscar Wilde I've ever been at in my life. It's hilarious, not for the faint-hearted. Our bright new programme is available now, and 24-hour bookings have already opened online at gaytheatre.ie. We will open our walk-in box office in Street 66, Parliament Street, from the 24th of April, from 12 to 3 every day except Sunday, until May the 13th. And Steve, who will be our glamorous front person in the box office, is there. We would love to see LGBT and ally staff networks coming. You know, a block booking is great. We've all been in small venues, and we look out, and if there's a group of 20, we delude ourselves that we're full. Who cares? There's a group and they're happy, right? And we'd love to see the LGBT staff networks. If any of you have any contacts, would you please hand them over to Joe or one of our contacts there. The same goes for arts groups, and the same goes for LGBT groups from all over the country. And we hope they're going to come to us to avail of our great discounts and the possibility to see up to 4 plays in one day, on Bank Holiday Monday or on both of the Saturdays. You can see 2 plays in any one venue, any night, for €25, or a matinee as a tenner. It really is great value. And I acknowledge that the artists agreeing to those prices deserve your support for that incredible dedication. I salute all the artists who have sent us in their works. All our resources have been invested in showcasing as many high-quality new works during our unique fortnight of LGBT inclusive theatre. They are exciting. They are cutting edge. We have comedy, drama, dance and music. The festival is created by the voluntary donation by a very, very small professional team who keep it all running over the 52 weeks of the year. We know we will be joined by more volunteers soon, and we welcome everybody on board. I've been doing this work for 20 years. So, I have a nephew here, he may commit me later. But I've even removed the photo from the brochure this year. It was too painful a reminder of the ravages of time. With all the battles and achievements over the years, and there have been too many, we prevail. But I really do want a successor. Thanks to living in a country where the state will offer significant direct support, we are in good shape. The Minister and our department's support is a crucial shot in the arm. It restores our faith in officialdom and crucially funds us at a level where we can make a difference in supporting, in practical ways, our unique art form. We pay for all the venues. I think we're the only festival in the world that does that. We also pay everybody on Saturday night. In Edinburgh, you may wait three months, etc., to front load everything. We provide, our RC and Derek are there providing our technical staff and Jilly in the corner, they provide technical help as staff. I don't know how many people have written in and said, how much will the lighting operator cost? You know, what will we do? We're travelling. And the guys just go, we'll sort it. We even get props. We've even gotten costumes. We market. I've already hand-delivered myself, making my annual visit to some of the sex shops. All the brochures. I think they see it. This is, they're so sorry when I go in my backpack to go, lucky I'll go sit down. I have been seen coming out of appalling places from this festival. But they're all, but 4,500, as my spine will tell you, brochures are already in cafes and bars and language schools and other venues, and we will get the other 4,500 or so out shortly. But it does actually take that level of commitment, and we'll be sticking up posters in toilets very shortly, because people don't allow you to put them on the main walls and bars anymore, however. But it does, our reputation abroad is strong and robust. We're also solvent thanks to our donor and volunteer ethos that drives this event. Really, after COVID, when people heard about the Arts Council, I'm really deeply grateful to the people who just sent us in money, which was just so good of them. And we have a strong and inclusive, unique gay theatre brand. When we started 20 years ago, there was ALAF, the Alternative Lesbian Arts Festival, which was always the first weekend in May and Pride in June. So that's why we took May. We needed a bank holiday for all the volunteers to start off. That has made us clash with every important, vital referenda that ever was. And I'm infuriated this year. Last year, the Eurovision Song Contest was on the 26th, and they have bloody well moved it to the second week, the 7th to the 14th of May. I mean, we have kept Eurovision going. What have they got against us, right? However, all that means is this, is that if you want to meet the gays, you come on the Monday, Wednesday and Friday night of the second week. If you want to meet the straights, come on Tuesday. That's what happened. And of course, and then today, just because we're getting a good crowd of distinguished guests out, Joe Biden says I better come in and piggyback on that. So our timing has always been a challenge. We do embrace diversity at all levels, so please step forward. Gareth, for example, has done 15 years as my fellow director. And it is time for others to step up. You are most welcome. It has been quite an achievement that largely a group of men have fundraised and worked to bring theatre by women to the Irish LGBT stage for 20 years. Our feminism woke up in us on day one, 20 years ago. We didn't wait, and we have showcased so many brilliant young women writers. I remember asking Emma Donoghue years ago, what is it about Irish women? I said, they write great novels, but do they write plays? And she was going to say, I think that's Brian from the Gay Theatre Festival. He always asked me that question. And we discussed, she herself was unusual. She wrote plays first and then wrote the novels and then got her Oscar, etc. But it has really happened over the last 20 years, where in particular young women have now stepped forward, or women of any age, Amanda, have stepped forward and say that Oscar again. But anyway, it's really important that those voices come in and colour our palette. And I remember one year, to great joy of mine a few years ago, we do rewards, etc., and we do give a nomination for Best Writing in the name of Oscar Wilde. And just a very few years ago, I nominated were 5 women. And that shows the achievement of a festival like this, because in the first year or two, they were none. In the first year or two, I actually had to go to a couple of women friends and ghost produce the plays that were going into the festival in order that those voices would be heard. So I'm delighted to see the diversity and the strength of the voices, etc., that are coming through to tell their own stories too. We do embrace diversity at all levels. We are interested in you, your stories, and what you have to say. Dublin is our safe space for you, our Irish and international stories. We will support you, and our audience will welcome you and embrace your theatrical truths. The time to step up on the executive is now, as I believe it is time once again for me to step down as executive chairman and artistic director. I have these 2 jobs, or is it 22, for the last 20 years, and I have tried to step down 3 times before and was blissfully ignored. We need more and younger people to step forward. Why you all go out and suffer like and set up your own little companies and get frustrated, and when all of these resources are here for you to guide for the next 10 or 20 years. We need more young and more young people to step forward, and I am not short of ideas, but I am shorter on energy after 20 creative and too many begging years. We now have a bedrock of reliable supports for and from artists, donors, sponsors and audience. So here is your opportunity to put your stamp on this unique festival. A few of us who have brought it to adulthood, it should be easier now to journey over the next decade. I'm acutely conscious that all of this work will be a failure unless we find people willing to donate their time and talents to ensure our artistic citizenship is presented on stage in Dublin each May. It is as important that we speak as well as that we are listened to, and our audiences, like our minister, listens. This festival often provides a unique safe space to be heard, not only for Irish companies and audience, but as an international hub in increasingly divisive times. Populists pick on minorities. They dehumanise democratic politics. They organise to dominate and misinform the debate. Look at the nonsense about the statue of David, which has gone unscathed for 450 years and now offends a couple of people, right? In a school where all the kids could be shot dead and nobody's offended by that. But we, LGBT plus people, are on the list of their targets. Be under no illusion. You support populism, be it right or left, you're giving them the permission to do that. Our festival stands with the courage to continue to produce all of our stories and to shine our stage lights brightly on them. We are as needed today as we were 20 years ago. And this year we remember with gratitude all who have contributed to, supported and attended this unique festival. Thanks to our many sponsors, our companies and volunteers. You now have another feast of unique, low-priced LGBT stage stories ahead of you for a full fortnight from May the 1st to the 14th. There will be at least 10 performances in 5 venues each evening. We're back in the Teachers Club, as Seamus rightly congratulated for their centenary. The Ireland Institute, imagine being in the home of Padraig Pearse and doing gay stories. Padraig would have been delighted. And we also have been welcomed back profusely and welcomed in a warm way by Outhouse, the LGBT theatre resource centre. I in fact set foot on that and helped them design it when the bottom floor was clay. We had to jump down the last 3 steps because they were missing. And then that became a wonderful little theatre. And we now go to the edge of the liberties in our brand new venue, which is called DV8, DV and 8, but say it fast, DV8. And that welcomes all kinds of different groups in our broader community, but we have the place to ourselves for the fortnight. Your arts groups, workplace groups, they can all get a further group discount. And we have a free seminar in our future. Please come to that and give us your views. It's called a 2020 Vision, and you're all welcome. Please help spread the word. Take some brochures with you now. Follow us online and share a post every day between now and May the 14th. Adopt a play and post about them online every day. Tell people you were here. Post something now. The 20th anniversary year is an opportunity to make sure that the diverse artistic legacy we have facilitated lives on. I won't be here forever, but we all will be here in May. We have all the preparations in place. Now all we need, again, is you, our wonderful, diverse, supportive and appreciative audience. We cannot deliver this without you. Thank you very much.
Put your daughter on the stage, Mrs. Worthington. Don't put your daughter on the stage. The profession is overcrowded and the struggle's pretty tough. And admitting the fact she's burning to act, that isn't quite enough. She has nice hands to give the wretched girl her due, but don't you think her bust is too developed for her age? I repeat, Mrs. Worthington, sweet Mrs. Worthington, don't put your daughter on the stage.